first like to thank Pulse for allowing us to present our sound program in the fair. It's been great working with everyone. My name is Christina Vassallo, and I curated the exhibition Darkness Descends, Norwegian Art Now. And in this booth, you're listening to Are Mokkelbost's piece, Okay, Bear Hymn Number 1. The sound art portion of the exhibition really discusses this kind of fascination with darkness in contemporary Norwegian art and how it's expressed either through references to nature or mythology, or sometimes both. This piece particularly is part of a much more complicated artwork that has both visuals and sound to it. And I just wanted to start by reading a small paragraph from Aura's description of it, because it'll just give a very concise explanation of the level of complexity in the highly organized structure of much of what Aura does. This music is an attempt to translate a similar set of visual regulations executed in vector graphics in a direct and straightforward way. Together, these sonic and visual rules make up the construction of the OK universe. Part creation myth and part visualization of synthesis, it is addressing children in a way that is both pedagogic and conflict-ridden. So this piece was actually commissioned for an elementary school in Norway, and what I find so interesting about it is the fact that you, through this piece, want to introduce the idea of conflict and the idea of, I guess, an imperfect world to children. So I was wondering if you could talk a little about that, and then tell us anything you want about the piece.
Okay. Maybe we should just, because we all know each other.
Get a little closer.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I started working with it before I knew the end result, like so new. And I did it when I was broke, so I wanted it to be done in a way that was no economy almost. I could do it on my computer with a scalable format. Basically something that could be made into something flexible and bigger when I got it out of the computer, but I could work with it in the computer. So I wanted to work with vector graphics and synthesizer music. And then I also wanted to address children before I knew I was going to do it for a children's school. So when I was asked by the school to do a proposal, I proposed to do this. And they agreed to take on the whole story and its illustration and sound. So your question was, with the conflict around the conflict of it, or
how do you introduce conflict into this piece?
I see.
If that's really what it's about.
Basically, it's a visual story, so there's no text and only sound, and the sound is in the background somehow. And it's a very logical story about how two different races with opposing visual qualities and sonic qualities meet and die out, and then a third species come out of it that's a synthesis of the two. So it's a very simple illustration of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, you know. And this story is basically an excuse for me to try to find the visual solutions to these rules. So I consciously add narrative elements into it that have justification with my formal rules, but that in the children's world represent something they recognize from a different something else.
So these rules are sort of translated into a language that they understand.
Yes, but when they start recognizing, the recognition creates the conflict.
Okay.
So they recognize the bear, but the sound the bears make sounds more like wolves or something like that. The birds make these kind of, and then this other last species, the frogs, make the synthesis of the two, which is any sound. So they have basically like the human language, or you know. And there's other things in the story that that creates a conflict. Like there's almost like a backwards evolution in it, and the moon and the planet relationship or Earth relationship is visually opposite. So you have a grey globe surrounded by colorful satellites, which is opposite like our Earth relationship. And there's always these recognizable parts in the story that is the conflicting part. Yeah. Because it has a formal justification. So, yeah. And to make it more obvious, I can show you some illustrations of this. This is basically the logic in terms of the shapes. Adding angular and circular shapes. Adding this in terms of color. So it's the gradient gray with the solid primary colors, becomes all the possible colors and gradients of them. And then I literally build up all the images in this race with circles that then are added the gradient. And these
The
bird
colors.
race is I literally start with triangles and then